I was thinking through folk art a little bit more, and specifically, um, this page in my sketchbook was really inspiring. And I haven't finished it. I gotta put what is it called? A marble salamander right here. I am very into folk art and really starting to think about incorporating symbols, motifs, and exploring like what does folk art mean to me? Like, do I even identify with that particular term? But that's definitely my jam. And I've been exploring that through like looking at, and I'm in the state of North Carolina. I have been looking at the state symbols as a way to begin to explore folk art. And so these are different state symbols for the state of North Carolina. So this is the northern cardinal. This is the state bird. The state vegetable is our sweet potatoes. So that's what these are. Um, I was gonna draw down here, and I may still do that one too. Venus flytrap. So one of the state plants is a Venus flytrap. I want to put that down here. Strawberries and blueberries are the state berries, and I just put down the watercolor for this. I haven't like put in the color pencil on top like I did for these, so I still have to work on this. And then this butterfly is what is it called? The Eastern Tiger Swallowtail. So I started that as well. So what I want to talk about today kind of sprung from this particular spread. And like I said, that right through here, I'm going to do this marbled salamander, which is the state amphibian. I think that's right, or reptile. I think that's the way that it's called. And then, like I said, I'm going to do the Venus, a bed of Venus flytraps down here. So, in me looking at like and exploring, hey, in me looking at folk art and really starting to explore that through like state symbols, um and starting at that place, it made me think about very simple images, simple shapes, right? But with these very punchy, granulating, poppy kind of colors, right? Like that. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. This is a Kuretake marine green brush pen, and I this is such a deep, beautiful green, and so I want these colors to be very present in the work that I do. So I'm yeah. So this is what started what I want to talk about today, which is these kind of still lifes with just teacups and like random vase shapes, and I have quite a few, and these are a part of this next discovery spiral for me. And so what that is like a process where you are kind of following the threads of inspiration, and that's a title from Lauren Bell's page. And so if this kind of subject matter, like thinking about how you make your decisions, how you follow threads of inspiration is your jam, I would definitely check out her video that's titled that. But the discovery spiral for me is related to looking at like how different choices lead to new possibilities. And so, like I said, I was up one night working on looking at folk art, started looking at the state symbols, and then did this. And so it made me really focus in on that I like these colors and what can I do with these colors. And so I started off with these images. Um, thank you. Hello. Thanks. Yeah, I practiced the cardinal, and I'm sorry, I just responded to some of these messages in here. I started practicing cardinals a few months ago and was really surprised how this one turned out. Yeah, so thank you for that. So related to these pieces and folk art, right? So my thought process is I really like these colors, and folk art is really based on very simple, very simple images from everyday life. And two artists that I have been really studying related to the things that they pulled up in their life, the images that were inspirational to them. So one artist, her name is Minnie Evans, and I've talked about her quite a bit on my page. She was born here in North Carolina, and I have some little notes. So just in case y'all want to look up these artists, and I definitely suggest that you do. Minnie Evans, like I said, born here in North Carolina. She lived from 1892 to 1987. And then William Bill Traylor, he's from Alabama. He lived from 1853 to 1949. And they, very different folk artists, but I love Minnie Evans, the way that she used symmetry, color, and nature. And then Bill Trailer, I love his very simple palette, simple images. And so I was like, well, what is the simplest image, that I can practice with related to figuring out what I like with folk art. And so I decided to just do teacups, teacups and vases. Um, and this is what kind of started. Uh, let's see, I think I have like nine different images that I want to show y'all that I built on from this image. And let's see, what can I share about this? So um, I really liked these colors. Um, these are the Kuretake Ganzai Tambi colors, and I wanted to look at a very simple color palette as well. So, like this being my blue, my yellow, and I changed my red to this Venetian red. So, these are really like the complementary colors that I'm working through. And then the additional pops of color are kind of colors that I'm exploring, right? So I really like this teacup here, how this one came out. And I like the way that I shaded this, like use the variations of this one color to show shadow, to show light, to create some depth, to make it not so flat. So that is something that I'm still looking at. Um, the question that I was attempting to answer through these different like trials or experiments was, one, what colors go well together, but then also like what shapes am I really interested in? Like what shapes from my everyday life do I want to start incorporating into this idea of exploring folk art, right? And so this again kind of is along the lines of something that I saw in one of the comment sections on one of the art videos that I checked out. And the person was saying that they really appreciated the artist like going through their process, like showing them how they came to the end result of the piece. But the other thing that they really enjoyed was listening to the artist talk about their decision making, like why they chose the next steps that they chose. And so then that made me think about, how do you build that, right? Like, how do you build that language to be able to describe your decision making? Yes, there is this intuitive aspect to finding your words, for describing what you're doing. But I know for me, I have definitely like been on artist panels, and there's been this question about your decision making and your creative process, right? And you have to describe for folks, these things. And so this is kind of a walkthrough in how you start to build your language, how you start to build your knowledge about why you make the decisions that you make. And for me, I can't describe for folks how I come to not just the themes, right? Like folk art, simple images, teacups, everyday life, right? Like that's kind of the theme, the concept. But like why, yeah, like talking more and having more experiences, creating more opportunities for me to kind of be forced to describe, like, why did I choose these colors? Why did I put these particular images next to each other, right? And you have to build that. And for me, I do that through doing these kind of experiments. So this is where we started. Okay. Let me show y'all. Let me show y'all the other ones that I made, and then we'll move on. Okay. So we made, let's see, I made these as well. And these little planets are part of a different piece for me, but this still goes together for me because I feel like I'm also, well, I know, not I feel like, I know that I am also thinking through like how to make my images more visually interesting, right? Like, how do I explore interest? Um, whether that's texture, color, or the images itself, placement, composition, right? And so that big image led me to these. So I really liked this vase shape. I also really like, I love to draw a coffee cup or a teacup and a spoon, right? So these are the two shapes, if you will, that have just continued from that initial piece, right? And so this is me pulling out these colors that I also really like too, right? Y'all can see kind of the shift in the colors here. Still basic, simple, everyday things from my life, right? A vase and a teacup and a spoon. But then this color composition I think is very interesting. I like the brightness of this yellow in contrast to this blue. Okay. These are again just a few more shapes. Um, this is me kind of thinking through again like red, yellow, and blue complementary colors, but in a different way, right? This is Venetian red, this is Mars yellow, and then I think this is indigo. And still playing with like varying is varying a word? Making a variation in this one color by watering it down a little bit, right? And still using that in the image. And I could have carried over, um, including more colors in that. Like I could have shaded out the Venetian red a little bit more and dropped that back here. But I kept it pretty simple, right? Because these are just quick images, me thinking through colors, but then also what shapes do I like? Okay, this is another one. With this one, I was trying to see if I like cups, different ways to draw the cups, but then also like a different shape for this color, right? And I really like that pop of yellow in a larger kind of tall image as opposed to like a short small image. And again, still experimenting. I know now that I cannot put this yellow on top of this blue because it will make a little bit green, right? So there's that. This one, I really, really like this one. Um, and let me tell you why. So, and I probably did these out of order because this one came first. I definitely drew this one first, right? Sketched this one really quickly, really liked the red, yellow, and the blue, the complementary colors that I chose, and then redrew it here, right? But I also really like these shapes, okay? And this is what has been helping me figure out like what shapes do I like, right? These are just random, shapes of vases, styrofoam cups, teacups, right? And then different variations of the complementary colors. So blue, red, yellow. This could be a yellow or orange, and then I really like this yellow. This is actually yellow ochre. This is Mars yellow. I think I called this Mars yellow earlier, but that's not right. This is yellow ochre. This lemon yellow, Mars yellow, and then green gray. I love these colors together. I also really like, and I didn't do this again, and I probably, again, this is a part of that thread of inspiration discovery spiral piece. I really like this shape, this one, these three shapes together. I mean, these four shapes together will probably be very interesting, maybe in different colors, but maybe the same. So like for instance, if I was like in a demo place right now, what I would do is exactly what I just kind of became interested in, right? Like these shapes being next to each other would be the first thing that I would do, and then the second thing that I would do is then draw it multiple times and do some color experiments and see, do I like these colors together or do I prefer like these colors instead. Okay. And then this is the last one. Again, just very simple shapes in these colors that I really like and enjoy, right? And so knowing that I really like this yellow, you see that it starts to pop up more in these really quick images. Um, the shapes again are very basic, very simple, everyday kind of shapes, right? That you can just assign meaning to. Um, that is also very important related to this. I think, let's see. And then the other ones that I did were these. So still keeping this like tall shape, but then making variations in the color. This is warm green, this is viridian, and this is a cool green, this is cobalt green. So I was thinking about that as well, like what would these color greens with this yellow look like? Um, and so thinking more through that, but again, keeping it very simple, very basic, right? Um, This video is centered on building the language and the knowledge to build creative decision making, right? So to me, there are two aspects to the creative process. There is the process, the demonstration, right? Like what you actually, how you paint, how you sketch, whatever, whatever your jam is. But then there's also the why, the decision making. Why you chose the steps that you chose. And as I worked through building that, I wanted to, bring y'all along and see if that's also something that you're working on as well, and get your idea on how you approach that, how you work through it. These experiments are kind of building like muscle memory, right? So I think I went through like 9 different examples of me kind of going through different colors, different shapes, and then putting that together, picking out the things that I like, and then putting all those things together, right? That's like artistic muscle memory. Um, and it's helpful to document things that we like, things that we don't like, successes and failures, ugly, bad art, whatever you want to call it. Excuse me. Excuse me, y'all. Let me take a sip of my coffee. Okay. There's value in documenting the successes and failures, the things that we like, the things that we don't like, because these are the places that we can go back to and pull from, right? So even if I just use this page, right? I took from this page this yellow and this blue. I love this together, right? Um, let's see. I think a better example might be this one. Let me show y'all. Okay. Let's see. 1 second. I'm just moving stuff around so it doesn't fall. Okay. So, it's important to document the successes and the failures, good art, bad art, whatever you want to call it, right? So you can go back to it. As an example, I put this marker down. This is a dark purple pink watercolor marker with these colors. And after I put it down, I was like, oh, I don't like this red. I thought I would like this pop of color, but I don't. Let me go to this red. This is a Venetian red, right? And so knowing that, okay, I like this red as opposed to this one, even this red, and then I can come back to this and see it. I was mentioning this coffee cup. Why I like this coffee cup is because of the way that I shaded it, right? And being able to come back here every time that I sit down to do a coffee cup and resemble this one because this is the one that I liked. Um, and so because I like this coffee cup, it showed up here. Yes. And so this is a way to help build those creative decision making language and knowledge, and build that muscle memory. I would love to hear from you all how you kind of process through your own decision making. What threads of inspiration, as Lauren Bell would say, have you followed recently in your own art? Um, I would love to, check in with you all about that. And, I think a simple exercise based on my own experiments would be, what's one simple shape or object from your everyday life that you can draw daily, recreate over and over again, and see what information that has for you. You know, again, it could be a lamp on your desk. It could be the coffee cup that you drink out of every day. This is the one that I drink out of every day, right? It could be a lamp. It could be a chair. Whatever everyday shape that you have in your life, I think it would be interesting if you also redrew, redraw it multiple times. Do it in different colors. Use different textures, and see what information you get from that. See what threads of information pop up because you did that. Um, the other thing that I mentioned related to this spread that I did around folk art, too, is, think about your concepts, your subject matter, right? Get a little creative, pull some inspiration from some places that you hadn't considered. Like I said, for me, thinking about symbols and motifs, um, then sprang me into this idea of, okay, art, folk art is my jam. So what are going to be my everyday symbols that that could potentially be a part of my symbols and motifs. And so right now we're starting with a very simple vase and a teacup, right? A very simple vase and a teacup, and this lemon yellow and this grayish blue chef's kiss. I challenge y'all to do the same. I feel like that was a long way to give a call to action. But if there are any simple shapes, items in your life, maybe do a 7 day or a 3 day drawing challenge and just draw it over and over again and change the color up and see what happens. See if that helps with this thought process about not only inspiration and following the threads, the discovery spiral, but also, building this artistic muscle memory, related to your knowledge and language about the decision making aspect of the creative process, why you choose the next steps that you choose. Okay, I'll see y'all soon.